Hello, it's Ileana at Awakening Cosmic Reality Show, and I have the beautiful Kimberly Palm with us today and the beautiful Jenny Lee. Welcome, ladies.
Hi.
Hi, thank you, Ileana.
So today we're doing remote viewing part 2 for our Atlantis show. So I am going to share the presentation and we will just take turns commenting on what's in the presentation and what your guys are getting from the images. So I'm just going to share that right now. Share screen. Let's see.
Hopefully they're images of things I've seen in my head.
Oh, I'm sure there will be. And so here we are. And do you see that, ladies?
Yeah, well, pyramids were definitely power generators. Even the ones in Egypt were power generators. Not tombs. They weren't really tombs. They were power generators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting on how the energy is inside of it. And some of them have these crystallization energies too. It's just amazing how everything is energy. Or self-efficient.
Exactly. I'm just gonna, yeah, so you can all see that pretty well, right? Presentation. Good. So we're gonna, that's kind of the cover for it. And this is the first thing that popped up when I was looking at it. So this is like, I'm just gonna stop for a sec and start again because something's going on with the screen. Share screen. Okay, follows share screen. I just need to have this. I'm gonna be, can't I cancel? I just need to reconfigure this. Slides. What's this? What's this? What's this? You have no slides. No, I don't have any slides. Your computer don't show using. Okay. Upload file. All right. Let's see if this. They have new way of sharing things, so let's see if. Well, no, I'll just share my screen again because it was weird. It was really weird. I'll just share the screen. All right, back to that. So this was the first one. It was the mermaids. And it was, I was talking to Kimberly about this one. So Kimberly, you were telling me that you looked a very specific way as a mermaid, correct?
Yeah. In fact, my daughter, you know how I even found out about that? Because I've known that I lived in Atlantis since I was a child. I always knew that I had a past life in Atlantis, but I didn't really know what I looked like. My daughter actually had memories of, like, she has all her full memories intact of her past lifetimes and the ones with me in it. And she is the one who told me what I look like. And she said I had these weird eyes and green hair. Like I looked a lot like the one on the left. I had like this long green hair and like blue or green skin. And I was a mer person. And she explained it to me pretty full, you know, going back to since she was a little girl, she's always, you know, said the same stuff over and over. And she pretty much stands in her truth on it, that this is what we were like. And we were able to walk on the land and in the water. We weren't just like, I wasn't like a fish person or something. Like I walked on the land, but I was also aquatic. So I could be in the water too. You know, it's both, you know what I mean? So it's interesting how that
looks. Yeah, because honestly, like same, I have similar memories that I had blonde hair as a mermaid and I looked similar with like translucent greenish blue skin, but I could also walk on land and I could switch my hair color to blue. So that's what I remember just with ability. The mermaids could switch.
You can change your hair color. You can change your features. You can kind of morph or kind of shapeshift. We could shapeshift. So that's how we were able to go from land to water as well because of the shapeshifting. which really helped with that. So
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So, and what do you get, Jenny, from this one?
Well, I mean, the thing this time, I really wanted to go down deep and just, I sent you a couple pictures of how they look, and the greens, those aqua greens and the blues of the skin, like we were talking about the other day, how elusive the skin is. But the thing is, I mean, the biggest thing that I saw with this community, it's nothing like ours in the way everything is balanced. But the way the skin is, and but you know, I didn't see like short beings. These all seem like they were taller beings.
Right. Very tall.
Yeah, and you know, you're not dealing with humans overweight or they overeat, or you know what I'm saying? They're all like this. And then like I said, like I see on the council too, how they everything in the back of them, you see these lights in the back of them, and this just this graceful way of them either swimming or walking. There's a, I don't know how to explain it. There's a respect balance there, and just a, when you have a community that respects the laws, you know what I'm saying? So everything kind of flows. So there was just not a lot of negative stuff I picked up, only when they got attacked. So Atlantis to me, but they didn't show me how they slept. You know what I'm saying? I never saw them sleeping. I saw them being in a community of conversating and talking, and then about the energy frequency and all that stuff, but I never saw them in a sleeping manner, or they showed me this bed of sleeping, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what I saw was different communities, different cities, different pods of mermaid stuff. So, and again, this, like, they were so attuned with the animals, the mermaids and the other beings in Atlantis.
Yeah.
So they were connected to the dolphins. That's
Very much.
yeah. So, Kimberly, what do you pick up?
So yeah, definitely attuned to the dolphins, also the whales, like the killer whales and the different types of whales who are brilliant beings. They're very brilliant. They're really intellectual, wise, old. They're like really ancient, like celestial beings, the whales on this earth. You know, they're very wise, old spirits. You know, they're ancient spirits. So they've been here for billions of years. You know, they've been here a really long time. But the mer people were very connected to both the whales and the dolphins and all the sea life. Like they and I say that they, I should say we were able to communicate telepathically with all living beings on the earth. So we could telepathically communicate with the whales, with dolphins, with all, even like a fish, you could telepathically communicate with it, which is really interesting. The other thing is the people who lived at that time were all very tall. They were like 8, 9, 10 feet tall, and they were very slender. There weren't short, fat people around at that time. You know, there weren't little small. Everybody was tall and slender. And you know why they were tall and slender? Because they came from Sirius and Lyra and Arcturus and Pleiades, and those people are high density, and their light body is very light. Their body, physical body, is very light and airy, and it's very tall. And when you go up in density, you're stretched, you're tall, you become taller. Part of why we are so small, we're like some of the smallest species of creatures in all of space, humans. I'm talking about humans, because we're in third density. We're so dense that it pushes our body and our weight, it pushes our muscular skeletal structure down, keeps us shorter, and it makes us fatter too and bigger. So when you grow in density and you go up to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like Arcturians are like 9 density, they become more and more slender and graceful, very airy, kind of like little ballet dancers or like little butterflies. They're very airy, very light, very flowy. Their bodies like flow with grace when they walk. They just look like great. You know, honestly, the movie Avatar really pegged it. The movie Avatar, because the graceful, tall, slender beings that you see in the Avatar movie who are really tall, they're like 9-10 feet tall. They're pretty much showing you there what a typical Lyran. They look very similar to Lyrans, those avatars in that movie. But like a Lyran or a Arcturian or any of them, those really high density beings, they're very graceful, like a gazelle. They're very slender. You know, if you took a gazelle and a giraffe and mixed it together, you know, and colored it a blue or a green, you know, and most of the Syrian people were a blue color, the people who came from Sirius B that were here on the earth. So most of the people, there were fair skinned people because Pleiadians have been here for a long time as well. So there were fair skinned, more humanly looking people, but even those more human looking people were also tall and slender. They're also like, you know, 8 feet tall or 9 feet, you know, they're also very, very tall because they come from, you know, 5, 6D and higher. So so that's a common denominator right there with that.
And there's also what I saw, like domed underwater colonies where the mermaids lived and other beings in Atlantis, and just also things on the surface, a lot of cities on the surface as well. So, and this was 2 million years ago. So that's what I saw in the remote viewing. What do you ladies pick up on it?
You know, when they went down to the bottom of the sea, this was weird because I was looking at the very bottom. I don't know how to explain this to you. It's like having a garden underwater. And I mean, literally, they were taking care of things. You know what I'm saying? It was a different way they were looking at things. 'Cause I saw these, you know, as you go in under the ocean, you see these things flowing that are sitting on the roots of the ground of it. And it was weird. I mean, there was just a balance with that. And then I think I drew one of those globe things over it too. And that was the thing with the energy going up, you know, air and energy working in two different systems. So I just think that they're high, you know, high tech advancement. And I think that's maybe one of the things that the negative presence that took them down just did not want them to advance. And it's kind of a sad situation because to me, and I think I told you last time, I didn't think it was for any significant reason to damage or take them over. It was just on the purity of being evil about it.
Kimberly, what are you picking up?
So the other thing that I need to tell you that I know and that I've picked up is that, okay, so I was here for the fall of Atlantis, and that was about 25,000 years ago, 26,000, something like that. That was the fall of Atlantis, but the Atlantean civilization existed way before that. And the other thing is there were many other different types of ET civilizations that were here on Earth. ETs have been on Earth for billions of years from different places, and they destroyed each time they were here. There was some sort of an event with bad ETs that caused the mass destruction of it each time. This thing that we're in right now with this war we're in, the spiritual warfare between us and the Greys and the Reptilians, that this isn't the first rodeo. Those a-holes, those real evil, you know, bad ETs have been to Earth multiple times, and Greys have been here in the past. Draco have been here in the past, and they have had past wars with other civilizations that they've destroyed over and over again. They pushed the reset button on the planet 6 or more times. And the Great Flood in Noah, that was one of the times when they pushed a reset button, and when they caused that Great Flood in Noah, the entire poles shifted at that point. And so the one thing that I'm getting, or that I know, is that I was here at the very last end stages of the very ends of Atlantis, but I was also here many times before because I recently found out some things about myself. And it's because I wasn't asking the right questions. And this is one thing I try to share with everybody, that if you don't ask specific questions and you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to get the right answers, because the universe, you have to be really specific with your questions. I had asked how many lifetimes I had in a human body on Earth. I didn't even bother to think how many lifetimes did I have on Earth when I was an ET from Sirius or from Arcturus or from one of those other places. So I recently found out that I was here like many, 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 many times over in an ET form living on Earth, way before I was in a human body. So when I was here in Atlantis, I was in an ET body, not a human body. And leading up until that point, I was here a whole bunch of times in different, going back billions of years. I was here billions of years ago with those other ETs. I just found that out recently. I didn't even know that about myself because I never asked my higher self or my team or my guides these questions, because I never thought about that. I was just more concerned about how many times have I been reincarnated as a human. That was the only thing I was focusing on. But the reason I'm sharing this is because a lot of us, all the people who are awake, are what we call star seeds that are here now. Many of us have had multiple lifetimes here on Earth where we were ETs. This isn't just about me. There's a whole bunch of us that are here right now who have had, including you, Ileana. I mean, I know that you were here with me too, in multiple incarnations where we were not in a human form. So, and I know you because like the first time I ever laid eyes on you, I knew I recognized you, like your spirit, like just I connected with your spirit. And I know we've known each other before from a long, long time. I mean, we might have even known each other back a billion years ago, but it's not just us, it's the other beings, because we come back with our same soul tribe and our same soul family, like group over and over and over again, like our friends and our neighbors and people who we come back, who we have these encounters with and we do these partnerships with. We all come back over and over and over and over again. So, so there were other civilizations besides Atlantis too. Before Atlantis, like there was the Atlantean civilization, but before Atlantis, there were all sorts of other different outposts and things and cities and civilizations here. So, so that's really important to point out.
Yeah, and Jenny and I had noticed that there was a lot of underwater cities that and facilities that were covered in these domes, and it was protecting the cities so that the water wouldn't flood within the cities. And the domes are like it's like energy generators giving these cities power. So Jenny, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so with the domes, that was the thing about it. But what was weird, and I think I talked to you about seeing these underground trees, and they were showing me these caverns. I mean, they were going down low. I was seeing a lot of observation underground. So, and it was weird because I see this in I do humble healing, and I see this massive tree that's very important. But then they showed me, they're like, Jen, it's at the root of the ocean, and you see each level of these Arcturians or Atlantis, and you see each level of the tree, and then you have a level of this cavern. And it was like the whole tree was neutralizing, like they were getting some type of energy off the tree along with that. So they were very good at analyzing things but not consuming it like we do these days. We consume too much and then we just discard. I felt like there was a balance with what they were doing. So these domes, I just felt this was weird, and I don't know if I told you this. So the material is not like a hard material. I feel like if you touch it with a certain energy, it would move in. So if there was something coming out and going into the ground, if something hit it, there would be a reflection on it. But I also saw it moving like a wave too. So there are definitely some high power balances in this thing that protects it and analyzes it. And so I just felt like everybody helped in keeping this valley, is the word I want to use, because it felt like a valley underwater. And then you could go up to the surface and then see everything. So, but then we did the last time where we saw them going up in the sky and then these higher domes and then seeing crafts. So, but when I remote viewed it, they were telling me, Jen, this is coming back. Not all of this was deteriorated at the bottom of the ocean. There are still caverns. There's still evidence there. So they're saying it's going to come back. So it was like, and I think I told you that too. Yeah. So.
Can I say something real quick
about
that previous picture that you show? Kind of freaks me out, that one, because I've been seeing that kind of image in my dreams for many years. Like many years, I've seen something similar to that. So when I'm looking at that, it's like I'm literally seeing a drawn vision of what I saw in my dreams, and somebody drew it. So it's kind of like deja vu or something. It's kind of freaky because I've seen it, you know.
Well,
so
I was connected to your mermaid lifetime because I can walk in people's memories. And I was getting from Kimberly mermaid, green hair, this beautiful sort of like pale skin, this beautiful tail. I'm like searching for pictures. I was searching for pictures on my own for it, and there's nothing coming in. And then I talked to Source Creator, and Source Creator said, look for pictures of mermaids with green, blonde hair and blue skin. Like modify your search criteria. So I did that, and suddenly three pictures appeared of what Kimberly and I look like mermaids, and what I look like when I was walking on the ground, right on the surface, where these Atlantean outposts are. So basically, and I got these domed cities. It's just like, wow. So Kimberly, I think that's from your memory.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because the dome cities, I literally have been seeing them for since going back to when I was a kid, like a really young kid. I've been seeing them in my dreams. And I didn't really know exactly what it was then because I was just a kid, I didn't know any better. And of course, my parents weren't going to teach me about that. They didn't know anything about it. So, I had to get to this point in my life where I can look back and say, ooh, all these things make sense to me now, that I've been seeing over the years. So
exactly. And then we have these crystalline towers that are they have different energies. They have photonic energy. They have the crystalline energy. So there's so many different colors coming off of them, and they powered the cities. They worked with the ley lines. So that's something we saw in the first episode. This was in there. And it's really very powerful. So, and it kept this, it was from 6th to 10th dimensional aspects of existence in Atlantis 2 million years ago.
I need to take a quick break, open the door because my little business partner, little Miss Furball, wants to come in and she's meowing and scratching at the door. So I'm going to, just a second, I'm going to let her in.
Yeah. So Jenny, what do you get from these crystalline towers?
Where'd you go? Well, and that's what I think it is too.
There you are.
It is too, because I live in Minnesota, and I told you I have working on a property that has all these ley lines, and you can feel it. There's just a strong energy with it. It just feels like you're getting lifted off the ground when you're near it. So when I'm looking at these towers, it just feels like extremely powerful. But also, as what we were seeing on these towers too, what I had it was where these higher ships take off. So you would have to have a higher source up there too. You know what I mean saying?
Mm-hmm. So what are these crystalline towers?
Well, I think like you said, it goes right into the ley line of the ground. Like I said, I keep seeing the tree is like a nutrients, and I think this will be exposed later on in the 5D and 6D, but I believe that we're getting more from trees than we realize. But, and they keep showing me it's like an energy column that's pulling from the ground and going all the way up. So I think they put these exactly where they needed to be to make sure the energy was completely right. So I don't think they can make these towers just anywhere.
Jenny, are you talking about those giant trees that are like, they say the Devil's Monument in Wyoming or wherever is supposed to be chopped off one of those giant trees that were like thousands of feet tall?
That's the Devil's. Yeah. No. Yeah. This is literally, it is something from the movie Avatar. You see that big tree?
Yeah.
Well, I started doing humble healing too, and they showed me this. They're like, it completely neutralizes the planet from the very core of the planet.
Oh wow.
Very core of it in levels. And I saw the tree in levels, and each level they were neutralizing and using it. So as long as that's what was so I got this dream, and then someone said, hey, listen and watch the movie Avatar. And I couldn't believe it, that the way they respected it and how it was neutralized. So I think, especially when I
Wow.
say I've seen Gaia or Tara, I've seen the root, a different tone root on her face. It's like there's something neutralizing from the bark and what it does. It doesn't matter if it's in the water or on top. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why on this time when I wrote Remote View, it showed me a lot of stuff underground, like the caverns are underground. There's still stuff there. These are going to be recreated
Right.
again. They were just kind of going over a lot of stuff.
Have you seen
And
Agartha? Because there's elves and different beings living inside the earth and what they call Agartha. They're cities inside the earth core. Have you
what I
seen that?
saw, these caverns, I mean, they weren't like tall caverns, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so some of these beings, how do I explain it? Some of them look like mermaids, and then their face was pointed more towards a direction like this. And then their eyes were bigger, and they had this aqua greenish in the eyes, like certain seal over the eyelid
Mm-hmm.
that they were showing me too. And then I see a lot of the slants, and I've been drawing those with aliens, but I did a couple pictures with Atlantis too. You know, it's some type of mechanism for breathing or recycling water or something. So I didn't see, I saw taller beings at the bottom, but I saw them at the bottom, at the very bottom, I saw them taking care of like nutrients of plants at the bottom of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the normal fish, normal whales, everything was not, you know, it wasn't fighting against each other at all. It was in a very balanced way of taking care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, we have these underwater cities again, so many of them. There are such large populations living underwater. Wherever I looked, everywhere on the planet, what's now Atlantic, Pacific Ocean, everywhere, these were under the water, also cities on the surface. So, and again, there's Arcturians, there's Pleiadians, there's Syrians,
Mm-hmm.
there's Andromedans, all of them were here. Like
Mm-hmm.
all of them, Meldakians,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
all of them contributed to creation of
Mm-hmm.
Atlantis 2 million years
Mm-hmm.
ago.
Yeah.
And
But they
somebody
all got
was
along. There was no fighting. There was no wars. There were no racism against. Oh, I don't like you because you're from Sirius. Oh, I don't like you because you're from Andromedan. You know, they didn't have that. That didn't happen back then. Everybody got along and coexisted.
exactly, and these are some of the circular cities on the surface that
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly saw, that Jen and I
Yep,
saw.
I've seen them.
They had always components of water and forests and greenery, so
Mm-hmm.
it really fit into nature. Fit into nature, yeah.
So I'm getting information coming in right now. They're telling me that the reason that they made, and I didn't know this, the reason that they made the cities all in circles is because it was a sacred geometrical design that they used that also contributed to powering it up and creating energy. So the energetic, so the way that so they weren't just getting energy from the ley lines. And by the way, Jenny, I also have always known that those ley lines on Earth have been used for billions of years to harness energy from the ley lines of the planet. And the
mhm.
bad guys that start with letter C know that, which is why they go and they plant things like obelisks and things right on certain ley lines. You know, they go and they try to pilfer or infiltrate. They try to infiltrate the ley lines and do bad, corrupt, and do satanic.
They
Loose,
try,
yeah,
but they
yeah, they
some
try
of
to do
them,
Luciferian stuff on the ley lines. Like Colorado, like look at what they do in the airport in Denver, and that's right on a ley line. You know, they do underground under the Denver airport. You know, they have the dumps down there and the trafficking, and you know, they do terrible things in areas where there's ley lines because they know that those ley lines create power. But what I'm getting right now from my team is that the reason for the round cities with the round design is it has something also to do with powering up everything because it all how do I want to say it? It all works synergistically. So you've got the towers, you've got the ley lines. It's like a whole network of different types of things that all create the empowerment of the civilization. So it's also the way the city was laid out. It was laid out that specific way for a reason, because that specific geographical design is a what they call a sacred geometry type of design. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah, and
Well,
again, more of these things around cities.
yeah.
well, even with this ley line that I'm close to on that, there was a lot. There's graves around it. There's different types of natives. They were, claiming the Vikings and giants, and everybody wanted something from it. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody thinks they can sustain it or hold it or contain it, and they find out that they never can. So, in some way, these people might have found the source to do that. But I think, in its own way, that these ley lines are that if you're going in there for negative situation, it's going to backfire in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they didn't have anything negative in Atlantis, so it was so peaceful. All
It
the
was.
cities coexisted together and they didn't fight. They had no wars. They
No.
had perfect health, perfect vibrancy. They were 6th to 10th dimensional beings and even higher. So
Right.
yeah, but these cities were quite popular with the circular type, and they even had like hovercrafts, hover cars flying out of the
Right.
cities.
Right.
So
And that's where you see those poles, and that's why I'm saying where I see that power line go up, and then those type of vehicles that would go off this planet, and that's where they were. I guess they felt that they were safe on those higher towers. I mean, because I've only remote view this. I've never had any memory of Atlantis or anything like that. I just remote view this. So not like you guys have felt from being part of that. And so I just go for what they're showing me, the view of what they see in that time and air.
I've seen those high towers too in my visions. In fact, back, when was it? It was several years ago. I was seeing those really, really tall, skinny towers, just like you have in the picture, the really, really tall. And I was there and it was nighttime. So it was dark, but then I could see these towers and they were all lit up. And I don't know if it was a memory or I was actually remote viewing it or what I was doing. I don't really know. I just had this vision where I saw it, but it was like at nighttime, but the towers were really skinny and really tall and they seemed to go on forever. Like they were they were tall, but they weren't like spread out all over, like they are. They didn't look like Los Angeles. It was just a small cluster of them. It was like a cluster of towers like that.
yeah, they go up
Right.
very high.
Yeah.
In these cities. So there's a sacred geometry configuration to them.
Everything. And so what I was hearing when I said I'm getting this message, they're telling me that this thing that you drew, which is very accurate, by the way, is all about utilizing the sacred geometry to help power it. It's all about the power, the electricity or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, the photon. Because we talked about this last time. They were using photon plasma kind of energy for everything, photon light and plasma energy for everything, and then the energy of the earth, all of this. But the way they designed the city also was like contributed to that, which I never knew that before. I just heard that just now. So I didn't know that until now. That's why it helps to be a psychic.
Exactly. And the Andromedans had a space station up there, like a white circular multi-level space station. It's like, interesting. And this is pure remote viewing. This is like, because from my aspect, when I was in Atlantis 2 million years ago in the mermaid lifetime, I was mostly underwater. So I didn't really look up in the sky to what was above me. I was like, what's under me? But in the remote viewing, a lot of these things came up, and Antarctica also came up, that they had these green crystalline Atlantean outposts made from crystalline materials.
Mm-hmm.
That
I know that's a fact, and I'll tell you why. Because I had a serious conversation about someone, and before I knew what those exactly were, they showed me. They're like, Jen, these came in from outer space, and they go right into the ground, and they had this black rock substance around it to get it in the atmosphere, and they basically show it's like a serpent mount, and it's an egg. And they're like, it looks like something off of Superman, but they're like, humans cannot even touch this, in any way. So,
and
and that was in a interpretation from another situation with another ley line. But that these come in the planet and directly know the actual area where they're going to lay in the ground.
and it's made out of indestructible materials. The outposts in Atlantis that I saw, they were green, glowing green, and they haven't been destroyed. They're still active. Even though there's no beings living in them, they're still active because the technology cannot be destroyed. So it's something that's similar to what Jenny showed me a drawing of, which was something else, but it looks very similar to that. So I decided to put that in. And again, these power towers, this energy, it could be shot out of the towers and it goes up and it powers everything. It's just amazing.
Well, what blows my mind is your drawings that you got. I don't know if you made those or if you found them. Those are so yeah, because those are so accurate to what it looked like. Like they're very accurate.
I spent almost 14 hours remote viewing Atlantis. I went everywhere on the planet 2 million years ago. And then I also probed what happened after the downfall. When the 2 million year stuff was destroyed, what was left. I can draw. I'm not good at drawing, but I am good at finding reference likeness images from the internet that represent what this looked like. And I always ask source, is this an accurate representation of what was? And if I get a yes from source, a double confirmation, what I'm remote viewing and what I remembered from my own memories of these Atlantean past lives, then I put in the images. Plus, I asked Jenny and you, I showed you guys the presentation just so we were all on the same page about this. So, yeah, and this is what the energy healing centers looked like. There's so much crystal stuff in there. It was delicious.
Lots of crystals. Lots of that I remember. Oh, sorry. My cat's being kind of a brat here. She's being like a 2-year-old. She's wanting my attention. Yeah, the crystals, and that's why my whole office here, you guys can't see it, but I mean I've got crystals everywhere. I've got selenite, I've got merkabas everywhere, I've got tourmaline, I've got so much stuff. I've got ones I found outside that I've collected. I mean, and then my bedroom is covered with crystals everywhere. My upstairs living area, I have a whole crystal display. I gridded my house using crystals. Like I actually set up crystal grids and all of the crystal stuff. And Ileana, I know that you can test to this or testify to this, the fact that you and I both are obsessed with crystals because of our Atlantean roots. So people who came from Atlantis are very obsessed with crystals. We love our crystals.
That's true. I wrote a whole book called Crystal Grids, The Art of Healing with Crystals, like how to work with crystals, how to do different grids. I have even an Atlantean crystal grid. And this is what some of the Atlantean healing centers look like. There was healing tables. There was like so much crystals and women priestesses working with them. It's just so much violet, blue flame, and violet flame energies. So I'm just going to show, this is what the other.
Ooh, so pretty.
Yeah. This is what the crystalline stuff looked like. And they had even crystalline waters. And this one is the healing crystal beds. Healing tables, and they had so many different crystals that focus on the chakras and do the healing. So much different healing. They had healing wands. They had so many different things they could connect energetically together.
Mm-hmm.
Your cat's like, yes, I concur. This is real.
Mm-hmm.
So they could create healing Merkabas for the body, and they can connect together. And they had these wands. They had the portable wand sets. They had the crystal wands on the healing beds. So there's so much. The emphasis was on crystals. So Jenny, what do you get from this?
Well, I talked to you about these in the council. These are crystal buildings. And I mean, when you're entering, you're not seeing a normal building. You're seeing that these are completely two-story crystallizations. And all I see in the center of them are these energy sources. So it's very easy to adapt to be taking some of them and just putting them for any type of healing, because it was a major part of their lives that was a very important to use and keep themselves healthy. So I'm starting to draw those crystallized cities on the higher council. That's, it's not anything to do with Atlantis, but it's familiar to what you guys are talking about. And then for what I've seen on Atlantis when I remote view, it's like seeing a pyramid and then seeing a crystallization in that building again too. So it's familiar to two different sources and two different dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say that this is accurate.
And then we had that, again, energy grids to power the towers, where they would get together and power these interesting types of towers and rebalance the ley lines and the grids. So there's a lot of different things going on with many different beings in Atlantis. They had different type of towers as well that they can connect to energetically and balance, and portal systems as well. So what do you guys get from this one?
Well, the thing I'm getting from it is it really almost reminds me of all of the stone circles that you see in what do you call it? Stonehenge, and a lot of other places actually all over Europe. They have these different, mainly in the UK, they have these stone circles. And I think it's because the druid priests and priestesses that were alive 3,000-4,000 years ago, and even longer than that, like they found out that Stonehenge even goes back maybe 20,000 years or what. I mean, it goes back many thousands of years, the original stuff there. I think a lot of those people were tapped into the Atlantean stuff, or they had memories, or maybe they were even old souls who had been there at some point or something, because if you look at what they designed in Atlantis, it's so similar to what the druids created. Really, really, really similar to what the druids created as far as the layout and what they were doing. And so there's some kind of a tie between the ancient druids and the Atlanteans. There's a tie there. So as a psychic, what are you picking up the tie was between the ancient druids and the Atlanteans? What do you think it was? Do you think that they remembered, they were having memories, or that they lived there, or that they were, what do you think?
I think all of the above, because
Okay.
past lives tie in what's currently happening and what happened in ancient history.
Mhm.
We see this looks like similar to Stonehenge, except this is more like wooden poles, wooden towers of some sort that create orbs and energy that people can connect to and heal and make portals. That's what I was getting from this one.
Right.
Yeah, and this one is next is Jenny's. So Jenny, can you talk about what this is?
Well, that was basically, it was a rock stone figure, and it was almost melted in a way that water can come up to it and energy can go inside it. So, and then it can submerge down if it needs to. So it was very comfortable and the way that they had it set up. So water can come up to it at certain times and then it would go down deeper. So, and then I saw water going, water was pushing out of it and energy was pushing out of it. And that's why, and then those towers, like those towers that go down to the ground and go up. So that's what they were showing me. And this is probably the first drawing I kind of did to pick up anything on Atlantis. Um, I know you were talking, we went to that previous picture, and I got to tell you, because I've been getting downloads on, how we're looking for all these artifacts, and that circle picture you just did with those lights. It almost reminds me of the pyramids, that they're saying any type where three pyramids are together, it's holding a space above, then it is not holding it in the ground, they're holding it in above. Like it's a different type of door that you can go and see, but you have a different interpretation. So, as we're here on this earth, and you can look above if you have the view to see that they're hiding a special space for certain artifacts and things. So I'm recently doing that, and that's why when you just showed me that, I was just like, gosh, that reminds me of what they were telling me. So it's all the way you're seeing things and what it's actually accessing or getting, what it's doing.
And then we have this interesting city that's also protected by dome-like energy that you drew.
Yeah, so it had the dome over it, like that dome, but like I said, if some force tried to come in and break it, it's not like it's going to crack like a mirror. It has a wave frequency a defense mechanism that they showed me, and like again, having the water and energy go through it, and being able to walk around these buildings in and out in a very, I don't know, like an airport where you get on those things you just walk on and it goes through and around. So escalators. But so they were showing me that how again, that stone, like that rock, there's just a certain type of a stone that it's kind of laid and melted, and but it looks natural from a sea presence of things. So there might be a little bit of a camouflage on purpose with the situation.
And then you saw again these cities covered by domes, and they had everything that people needed for life underwater. That was another one. And you can see sort of the surface stuff, the mountains from the dome. You can see everything that's above the surface, right? From inside the dome.
Right.
So this gives us a bit of a different perspective of what was inside. And then there's these beings.
Those kind of look like Arcturians. Actually, the one on the left looks very Arcturian.
Well, the one that's face is kind of sucked in he was definitely more of a mermaid type of situation, because he was at that lower area.
Okay.
And like he was that elusive aqua green and blue, and definitely more connected around the dolphins. I'm seeing him at that lower balance.
Interesting.
And then the other one was taller and white, that elusive energy, and it had all this different shades of energy and light around it. Some of the stuff, it's hard for us to see.
Sounds like a really high level being, like a really high density being.
Yeah. So they showed that, and then that one was very much a telepathic conversation situation with that one. So very strong energy on that one.
Yeah, so many colors.
That's really cool. I think that they did have a lot. They were very colorful back then. People, the beings that lived here on Earth were very colorful, definitely.
And I was just trying to enhance the colors to make them as bright as I could. I played around with some of the images just to because when you use colored pencils and pens, like you have the image, but when you photograph it, the color sometimes gets lost. So I just tried to honor the aura around them, the color, the vibrancy. I tried to make it as vibrant as I could so we could see what the colors are. And you can see the greens, the blues, the pinks, the purples. Just the aura around these beings is amazing.
Do you think that had anything to do with all of their chakras being online and being open and them basically
sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
No, I didn't get that. The power, the energy behind like their back It
Uh-huh.
just feels like their accuracy, their what they've been giving, how much they've been giving their energy for years and years of knowledge. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was a very honorable, but I see that in cloaks where I see spiritual cloaks where they wear them and there's different colors and different vibrations for different beings. So between the
Interesting.
cloaks that I always see and these lights behind them, that some of them, like if you're barely starting out, you wouldn't be able to even see the light. It would burn your eyes. And with these beings, it's a dimensional thing of seeing some of it. So that's
Wow.
what was different
Wow. So they're
with
probably
it. It
high
wasn't the
density, high
shocker.
dimensional. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
probably just really high frequency loving beings is what I'm picking up. I mean, what I'm picking up when I look at these pictures is these are like really, really, really old ancient souls there, and they're just super loving, like just that unconditional agape love, they're just that really high vibration of love frequency. Um, that's what I'm getting. Like I'm getting my hairs like kind of standing up and I'm getting chills because I kind of feel like I'm connecting with those beings right now and they're like really loving, like very, very, very high
Yeah.
frequency. Yeah.
Yeah, they were. They were very humble. It was
Mm-hmm.
very humble understanding with them too. So it's they're all kind of connected to everything that's living, and at the very moment of connecting with that and understanding what that being needs. And that's where we kind of need to be here on this planet because we don't really connect with animals in the way of
No.
telepathic consistency of their needs. And that's what
Mhm.
I really liked about them.
Yeah.
Humans treat animals absolutely disgusting. I mean, we kill them and eat them. We put them in zoos. We abuse them. People murder dogs, which are such loving. Dogs are unconditional love, and they kill them and put them in a meat market every year. I mean, it's terrible what humans do to animals. Absolutely
Yeah.
horrific.
Yeah.
Oof,
I,
yeah.
I agree. We need to be on a higher vibrational plane of
Yeah.
existence. Um, I also saw when I was going everywhere on the planet, both Pacific and Atlantic Ocean, that they had these kind of like four space bridges, kind of like towers, and then the space bridge going out above the atmosphere where
Oh
they could
wow.
launch their ships, their hover cars, and they could go to the space station. So there was like several of these space bridges.
Like a docking station, like a docking station kind of thing.
Similar, yeah, but it's a space
Okay.
bridge. It's like a super huge elevator that takes you up above the
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere, and then on
Yeah.
top the docking stations where
I
they could.
actually am going to have to leave because I've got to go to an appointment in a few minutes,
Mhm.
but I just wanted to put in one thing. One of the things I saw, I don't know if you're going to show it in the future after I leave, you may show it, that I saw in my visions over and over again. And I actually physically like saw myself in it is these modes of transportation in the cities. When you're in the above ground cities, they have almost like a people mover kind of thing, but it's like the doors open and there's like windows, and it's like the solid silver material. I can't metal material, and they're square boxes. It's like a big rectangular shaped object, and the doors open and a bunch of people enter in, and then it takes you on a track through the city to different places. It's kind of like the people mover that you would see in Disneyland that they used to have, except this is like more of a very high techy looking object. It's like very silver, like, and the kind of metal it's made out of is not even a kind of metal like we would use now. If you get what I'm saying, it's like a different type of a metal. And it was a very, very rectangular, like box shaped thing. And it went on a track and it would get people from place to place within these little cities. It
Yeah.
was like it was their method of mass transportation if you didn't have a hovercraft. So I
Mm.
saw the hovercraft, but then I saw ships that could come and go from the planet. But also what I've seen over and over is this mass transportation that would be like a modern day version of our busing or train system or our subway system, except it wasn't under the ground. It was above ground in the above ground cities. And it was literally on a track that went all around throughout the whole, whatever the city is.
Mm. Let me
So
just
I don't know if any of you
there.
saw that,
I
but
think that's what those tracks are.
yeah, yeah. and you just hop on in and you didn't pay anything. It was like included. So like there's no money involved. There's no tickets. Like you didn't even use a ticket. You literally just stepped on and you were there with other people. And I had these visions and I could see all the people. I could see the people in there with me and they all looked different and they were wearing very futuristic kind of clothing. You know, their clothing didn't look like what we wear today. It was very spacey, very, very Star Trek looking kind of clothes. And they were all different types of beings. It wasn't just humans, but there were a lot of Pleiadian looking kind of beings. And you step in, you don't pay anything, you just step in and it just takes you from it. It's just included. It's like part of their civilization. It's not like some kind of a money-making government like conspiracy thing where they make you buy tickets and they get your money. And, you know, it was just available to all the people to be able to use this transportation system. So anyway, so that's something that I know that I've seen.
I think that's the interconnectors right there in that city. What you're Kimberly, what you're just discussing, the trams, the connectors, and they can take you anywhere in the city and beyond because everything was interconnected. And again, they had these like large towers, space elevators or space bridges, if you will. And I got several different images of them, of how far above the atmosphere these space bridges and these space elevators were going. And there's a lot of energetics involved. There's a lot of frequency. It's not just a building. There's energetics that help to make the building itself, these buildings. And there was 4 of them. And then the reptilians destroyed them at the end of the 2 million year cycle. There's also like floating spaceports that transferred people to the different cities. They almost had like floating cities.
I've seen those in visions too. I've actually seen those. And then there's outposts that I've seen in visions that these same beings had outposts like on the moon or on Mars or where like different places. Like they had like outposts that were connected. That looked that were made of the same kind of materials and very similar kind of looking in different places.
Yeah, and then they had this space station, this white one, this double-decker levels that the Andromedans built. And again, more portal gateways, and they could portal out, and they had crafts of their own. So I'm just trying to show Kimberly everything. And this was after Atlantis. Atlantis was the main one. The 2 million year one was destroyed. This is 30 to 40,000 years ago after the 2 million destruction. So they still had the circular cities, but they were using boats.
They were different though. They were very different. Yeah. I see. I kind of remember that too. I think the farther back you go in time, the more of the high techy kind of stuff, and the closer you come to the destruction of the whole permanent destruction, it kind of degraded. The civilization degraded. Like it wasn't as fancy. It didn't have all that high techy stuff. You know, it was just different.
Yeah, they still had
really different.
These circular cities. They still kept the idea of the circular cities because it's you can build out easily. You can do infrastructure so easily. But the thing is, it wasn't the same anymore. It just was not the same anymore.
No. Okay, Ellie. My cat wants out and I got to go.
It felt like a lower vibration afterwards. But this is kind of like the whole presentation. So I wanted Kimberly to see it all so she could comment. So that's basically the remote viewing of the Atlantis stuff.
Awesome. I've got to bail though because I've got to leave for an appointment. I have to go to the doctor. But thank you, ladies. It's always a pleasure to see you. I hope I see you again soon.
Well, good luck, Kimberly.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure out how to leave. Okay, here we go. Leave studio. Bye, everyone. Bye. Thank you.
So, do you want to, Jenny, continue and have a look at these things with me if you pick up anything more?
Well, you know, the thing was what I was getting when they were attacked, you know, they say it was like impossible from on top of the surface. They went underground and attacked them. Is when this deteriorated. So it was, like I said, they keep having me focused in the ground areas and what they were trying to do underground, and that's where because they couldn't get in on the top of it, it was underground that they felt this came in at these different negative aliens and then came after them.
Yeah, and they
So
completely
they were showing.
yeah, they completely destroyed the space bridges and the space elevators and these towers. Like it was demolished, taken down, removed, and
Yeah, and
destroyed.
because it's really sad in a way if you think about it, when they were in the city together, because they were in sync with nature too. So it wasn't just sad for these, beings. It was sad for the animals on our earth. Feeling that that was a safe place to be,
Hmm.
and it's that's where I get disheartened about how animals haven't felt valued in that way since then, and trusting that someone has their best interest. So there's just certain things like that. And the good thing that when I was remote viewing, saying these type of, I would say, civilization and will be recreated again. And that you'll be able to see them as they are being recreated. So, because not everybody wants to live above on land, you know?
Hmm.
We don't think about that.
Yeah, and nobody wants to live in these concrete, cold cities either with these current towers that we have. These towers were nothing like the concrete towers that are built right now on Earth. We don't have anything like space bridges or space elevators, but the concept, we do have scientific concept of it. So one day it can be built. It's like all of it was wiped out, so it couldn't be rebuilt because it was built on energetics. It was powered
Right.
energetically. So like here, there's so much energetics going on. There's so much movement, vibration, kinetic energy in how these space bridges and elevators were built. They utilized a lot of holographic technology as well. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of complex movements and energy flow happening, energetics, in these space elevators and these space bridges. It's like I don't completely understand the technology myself, but it's crystalline, it's energetic, it's holographic, it's a combination of everything together. Culmination,
And
so
I
much
think
energy.
and I think that's why they were, they wanted me to focus in the ground area. They're like, this is what's on surface, but in the ground area, there's still like these caverns, as they call them, that were way down deep below the ocean. And they're saying there's still evidence of that being there. And so I guess no one's looking at it that way of how deep they went down. And that's where, like I said, when that tree was evolved and the root of the tree and how they were showing me, because, like I said, I've never looked up Atlantis on remote viewing or anything, and I just completely just show you what they say.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be really neat to see how they would recreate this. And I'm sure back then they thought their high technology is at a all-time greatness. But can you imagine it now? I mean, we probably wouldn't be able to see the energy in front of us. It's probably right there, and you can't even see it. So I think that would be very awesome to witness
Yeah, I mean, and
that
the
creation.
difference, yeah, and witnessing the difference between what was 2 million years ago and what was 30 to 40,000 years ago. I mean, they had ports and trade. They were making things from copper and gold and interweaving that with these circular cities 30 to 40,000 years ago, and they had elite structures, elite systems, like they had the elites and then they had the workers and they had the citizens. So it was divided in very different ways from what was 2 million years ago, where everybody just lived in peace and harmony. So what was 30,000 to 40,000 years ago was not what was 2 million years ago. It was quite different. And there was like, I
Yeah.
got that there were 4 epochs of Atlantis. So going back 2
Yeah,
million
I
years
don't
ago.
get, yeah, I just don't get, I don't, and I don't get the just one area and that was the only area on Earth. I just feel like there were several between 3 and 4 areas that they
Hmm.
were colonizing towards. And I get a very tropical area too, that they said that they already had they already had natural caverns, so they were already able to use those.
Hmm.
So I think you would have to dig down deep and push away all the green plants and debris to find something like that, to look at it in a different view, to see why they felt safe to use those natural ways that the water made for them already. Um,
Yeah.
and I saw these, if you came up from a pool, just say like if you're going down under the ocean and you actually came up under the caverns and then there was air under these caverns. So basically you wouldn't be, it's like a dry area under a cavern. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of weird, like a pocket of dry going under the ocean, and then all of a sudden there's a cavern and you're breathing air again. So it's just weird how, and I haven't been able to draw those because those are going to be complicated. But there's definitely, and down there I felt very peaceful, in a very quiet, content way.
Hmm.
And so
And
it
I
was
think they
definitely interesting.
and I think they were able to portal themselves in because they had like these portal gateway stations inside all their buildings, so they can go underwater. The ones that were walking can go into the underwater cities through the portal systems, and they could portal off planet as well. And they had their own ships and they had that space station, so they were space age beings that could leave the planet. They weren't stuck on Earth. Some of them, when the reptilians were bombarding, it wasn't just reptilians. There was other negatives bombarding, kinetic energy bombarding the cities on the surface. So a lot of these beings that lived in Atlantis 2 million years ago portaled themselves out through these portal systems, and they left. They left the planet when this was happening. Some of them stayed, and that's what they became the ancestors of the more advanced beings, and they started doing this stuff, building these ports and trading systems and cities. So remnants, there were
Hmm.
remnants left of the ones that didn't portal out. This is what they built afterwards, and they forgot a lot of the technology. They didn't have access to it anymore. So, and the crystalline towers went underground, went underwater, went to Agartha, went to different dimensions, just so they can use them to destroy the whole planet. So it's really a
Yeah, and
combination of things.
I was really curious into, because I wasn't seeing, of course, religious symbols. I wasn't seeing this society where they were forcing their citizens to do one thing or another. So I really felt that they were more connected to Creator in a very inner self awareness. And it was just a pleasant energy that you don't find these days.
Yeah, well, 2 million years ago is very pleasant. Than the 30 to 40,000 years ago is when the idea of the elites started. So it really changed everything. It's like once you wipe out the advanced stuff, the energetic stuff, the healing stuff, what do you have left? Just remnants of memories.
Hmm.
Just not the
Hmm.
same thing anymore. Not the same, even not the same dimension. They fell dimensionally to like 340 Earth and lower. Um, they still had some of the technology, but it wasn't the same. So it's totally different. These epochs of Atlantis show that. I mean, I didn't look at all 4 epochs. That's too much. I spent like 14 hours remote viewing this. So I just looked at the most important things that I was getting. But there were in
Hmm.
between points. between these 4 epochs. So Atlantis wasn't just one civilization. It wasn't just one
Right.
time frame. It was many time frames, different evolutions of it too.
Yeah. So, and then what I didn't see down there, I'm looking up these, older beings and I didn't see any young beings. Like, and maybe that was just not what they wanted to show me, but I wasn't seeing like child size or any of the infantile beings. I was seeing more of your older beings.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if that was just a certain area or they kept them underground or wherever they did, but it was just they didn't show me that.
Well, they could live for thousands of years. So it took a couple of 100 years just for their children to mature. They had children, but they kept them in special places for teaching and stuff. So they could live for thousands of years, these beings. And then when Atlantis fell, like the 2 million year stuff, and we were left with 300 to 40,000 years ago, they can live like to 200 years, maybe 300 years. So their time span even got shortened because they didn't have access to the healing tables anymore. They still knew how to work with crystals, but it wasn't the same educational foundation as it was before. So they lost a lot of their knowledge when the reptilians and other negatives destroyed what was there 2 million years ago. Even their age span was shortened. And ours is like 100. If you're lucky, you get to live to 110. Ours is even shorter now. So this all has to change vibrationally. And in our ascension and evolution, our age spans will certainly expand in 5D. It's not going to be this.
Yeah, and then when I like to look at different type of species and stuff like that, I always like to look at their language, because English is like the less communicated language that I see in history and all that stuff. They just don't show me English on spirituality. They always show me different language. So it'd be something if I went back in, I would be looking at their how they would write things or how they would communicate in their education. That would be interesting. I didn't ask for that, and probably that's why I didn't get it.
Well,
But I would like to see those.
Yeah, we could do another follow-up to you and me to look at their language and how that looked like. I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah, I just think, and then because for myself, I have dyslexia and I've always had it forever, and then it just to me going across like this seems unnormal to read something. When I see symbols and I see stuff going down, a part of my brain just goes, "This is normal. This is not normal." So seeing language go up and down like this, so and symbolizing, taking a symbol and putting it all in, and that's just one sentence, one symbol. So there's a lot of different things.
Exactly. Well, we can have a look at that in the next session, just you and I, and we can focus on that if you'd like to do that with me.
Yeah, I would like to look at the language. Like I said, that would be interesting to see something or to channel me writing something. So I like to verify that stuff for documentation. That would be a great thing to see.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
we provided a lot of verification on this Atlantis stuff with you, Kimberly, and me, and just a lot of corroboration of what she remembers, what I remember, what I and you remote viewed. So I think we sort of gave a broad picture of what happened in 2 different time periods and how things ended up and why we're the way we are right now, and that things need to change in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a lot to evolve in, and I know that people, as humans, they don't see it that way, but it is true. We're at the bottom of this universe, and we have to evolve in a very fast way. So everybody has to sit back and start to listen, because we are definitely the ones behind the ball that are not been doing the work.
Yeah, raise our frequency, raise the vibrations, tapping into that ancient knowledge that we've been missing. Like this, you and I tap through remote viewing, through psychic stuff, but we tap in, we listen, we record what we find. We don't just talk about it. We do the drawings, we do the images, we do the write-ups, the presentations. So we're creating a recorded history. Like what I love about you is you're like verification. Give us verification. Don't just chat about it. Where's the proof? Where's the verification? This presentation is the verification. Because you and I have put a lot of work into this. So this is it. This is the verification.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I think this has been great. So it's a very interesting subject, though.
It is.
Very
And
interesting.
It is very interesting. Like you said, always back it up. Show us the proof of what happened. That's what I like about you. You are always so honest, so upfront. You showed me the images. Like, this is what I saw. This is how I saw it. And I put it in the presentation exactly like you described it to me. Your own words, your own images. I don't change anything. What I remote view is what I put down. I don't change a single thing. I don't change my stuff. I don't change anybody else's remote viewing. What it was is what it was, and that's how it got put into this presentation. So it's our honest truth in what we remote viewed and what Kimberly and I also remembered. So I think this has been such a beautiful, beautiful experience. And I thank you so much, Jenny, for coming
You're
on.
welcome, hon.
Beautiful.
You're welcome.
And I'll chat to you soon.
Okay. Well, you guys have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.